also electromobility, green hydrogen, many factors. But I would say that having assumed to the enabling fundamental elements that I would like to highlight, there are many, and the executive secretariat said it. We have a lot of elements to take into consideration, but I would like to have emphasis in some elements that allow us that we are moving forward in the energy transition. And talking about what you said, we have to achieve that this transition includes data, not to leave anyone behind, and including all the countries, and to work together. So we go with this local and regional synergy. And I think that the first point that I would like to highlight it is the institutional element of public policies and the regulatory certainty. With this, I want to say that Chile, since 2010, we created the Energy Ministry to avoid to react to the energy crisis. And thanks to that, since 2015, we have national policy that now is a state policy. That means that it is a policy that it is followed up by different governments, and we have this continuity from the government and the state that has allowed us to continue working. And since next March, we are going to have a new government, but these policies are from the state and they are going to be kept and work with the state policies and adding to that the regulatory framework that provides certainty or actually help us to develop not only the investment but also the regime and how different parties and segments behave and coexist, and also with regulations that are coming in to facilitate some points that are it's necessary to clear up. For example, in energy transition, we have this energy transition law that allowed us to unlock the development of a critical infrastructure as it is the transmission line. On the other side, and having into account that we need a fair transition as well, it is important to have into account the territorial and the social aspects to it. So we have a plan of decarbonization, which also has this concept of fair energy transition and what happens in the territories and the social element, people in the different territories where we have the coal centrals or plants. And now that we are working on this transition, we have to take into account the impact or the closing of these companies that I mentioned. And in those specific places, we have the case of the Tocopilla energy transition, where we have been working to replace the coal central or plant and trying to find new employments there and reconverting the productive sector, agricultural, fishing industries. Everything has to be dealing with the impact that this transition of it's going to mean. And another important element is that we have to have into consideration the new technologies that can be functional and also can be strategic in the fairer energy transition. In this sense, we identified eolic and tidal energy as well, and we, as a country, we can announce that we got into this tidal association of energy so we can develop new sources of energy in our matrix, but also we can also locate them in the former areas where we have these coal plants so we can strengthen the capabilities that are in those areas.
I would like to underline as well the structure. We are living a very important moment now in the revolution concerning the storage. when we are well over the 2,000 megawatt for 2030, and we intend to reach the 6,000 going to the proposed goal. This is a matter that is an acceleration, and the electrical issues and the safety of the system, as well as the security, of course. And with the last elements, I would like to underline the active citizen participation. We have created a workshop of regional subjects, and we need to make sure that people and the territories they do not only deal with the cost of the discussion, they're related with the territories and the benefit for these subject matters for them is faster. And also would like to underline clear signs for the investment, the development goals, something that we have in Chile that allows us to identify which are the strategic places where we can orient the public impression, but most of all, the private investment. And this allows us to uh, be able to have an electronic in this in the electronic sector in this case to be well over has been in the last years. In this case, the green hydrogen. There are many elements I would like to understand, make you understand and underline this importance. And this is related to public policy that has been part of the regulations that allow us to have clarity and certainty with the involvement and the participation of the territories and the local area. We can move on in a transition that allows us to move on as such in energetic terms, and they may allow to incorporate something that in the past has showed us to be better and to be and have this type of good idea. Why? Because we have had to incorporate all of us and leave no one behind. It's important that we can incorporate and be in charge of this energetic transition and these elements that are the one that can be shared in the best experiences that we have to be able to move on um, because it's a benefit of the countries. Thank you. You have summarized many of the things that I wanted to talk about, so you said it all. But this shows where are we, what are we covering, and the conditions that you just mentioned. Uh, does it have to be profited by the private sector? This makes me gives me the chance to ask Marcelo how, from an end, have you been taking profit of the facilitators that you have to escalate investments in everything that is the clean infrastructure? This is what at the end we need, and it's a matter of boosting everything. This leaves you the ball, and you have to really get a good result in there. I'm Chilean. I speak a strange Chilean because I'm losing the language. My children say that I do not speak English, Italian, or whatever, but I'm gonna try to do this as much as good as I can. Thank you very much for the invitation, the World Economic, and as Chilean, I'm very proud. And the idea would be to try to tell you about good experiences, not only in Chile, because this is where we are, of course, but a bit moving onwards. So, like these ideas, and Brazil, Mexico, and Argentina, many countries are failing the infrastructure and all the renewables that we have had and a very explosive behavior, and it has containment. And you can produce, we have a container that is moving on onwards, and we have the facilities from all the point of view of production. We have containment, we have prices that are a bit low, some have a productive idea. It's very important to resume the critical infrastructure. And first of all, we're talking about the reinforced transmission. It's difficult, I know it is in all the countries. Between France and Spain, the idea is to construct a line, and this has taken many years. In the year 2019, they have connected one line. Now we have another. So the infrastructures, they're essential. The planifier, this is the government. I remember that did this, but the planning and we got to know this from the government. So the transmission, we can say that not only in Chile, but in countries that are very well developed, we have the 10,000 megas that are renewable, and we have a problem of containment as well, and in non-good development of the transmission. So we had a blackout, Chile and Spain. So the good ideas associated with what we have, we need a big road, and a good way to do that is something that is the infrastructure for the energetic transition in the city. And in that, I think that Chile is well positioned. We also have Argentina, and especially in Spain and Italy, that we have 20 years ahead in the digitalization of the network. So, you know, we have between Spain and Italy, we have 45 million customers, like 20 times Santiago. And this is all digitalized because the European Union, the 2000, it says that it was the 2020, there were remaining like 400 million that were digitalized. So what does it mean? It got there, and in summary, when you have this iPhone, for example, the digital meters that are operational, we have two things: changes of supplier, operations of the fields, the distance, this connection. When there's a failure of blackout, we know what is being consumed, and the reduction of costs and the trust and the resilience as such. When do we have this digitalization? So this is fantastic because it's infrastructures that are larger. We have meeting the studies that we did. I was with the Minister in Madrid some weeks ago, and the transmission and all of that. And then we need to modernize the rest. The network is an enable of the future, and it's spectacular. It has a possibility. I do have a picture. I can show you a picture. I'm going to show only one picture. We have a presentation of 4,000 pages, but they told me that I was not able to do that. Show you just one picture that makes me feel very proud. In all the facilities of the electrical buses in the city of Santiago, the attention in the electrical load can even work with trucks, and it has many parts of the test. And these fast recharges, we do recharge like 10,000 buses per day. This is incredible. And here comes the most important thing. Where we don't have the digital measure, I cannot take the time when the energy is half its price. For example, I have an hybrid car, and that is, for example, loading 2,000 kilometers. I have a normal plug, let's say, and this is the future that's coming. The hybrid cars, 100 kilometers, 12 hours. I charge this at half, and here I cannot do it because I don't have any rates. But I have what it does is to have the optimization of the electrical system, and the car is going to load up $2 per 100 kilometers. If you have a diesel, these are $8, and some experts would say, okay, let's say less emissions, the optimization of the electrical network, lower prices, lower emissions, and that's it. This is what we need to achieve with a lot of care and love. Be able to introduce that in all the countries. That's it. Thank you. Thank you very much, Marcelo. I think that what we've said a lot, we can give a big applause. Yes. Pay attention to those that were telling Felipe, Marcelo. These are success cases, and how the region, how Chile can solve some of these things. And also, Andres has mentioned that yesterday it was said as well, we had the 70% of the renewable energy, but that is the average. And there are some countries that are over that, and that was said by Andres. But this is the average. They are over that figure. So if we don't have a solid basis of renewables, what to say means that we have, even if we have parts of the infrastructure, we have some We need to take some countries to that level to be able to have a situation that is complete. And we are going to have, as Espe said in the beginning, in the description of the keynote, we're going to have some difficulties. So the question, Isabel, is how, for example, from help, how can we support the countries with the gaps that we have in things such as financial, innovation, infrastructure, human capital? There are several gaps. What do you think? How can we support these countries that are the ones that need that assistance? And what can we do so this becomes the reality that we need in Chile? Thank you so much, Gaston. Congratulations for the report. I had the pleasure to have it in my hand for some time to prepare the session. Given this good, wonderful landscape for the region, the average, as you say, it hides the other part, and it has a very good starting point, a renewable energy that is quite advanced, infrastructure that even though, as Marcelo says, it needs to be modernized, of course, needs to be expanded and needs to deliver more resilience, is much more advanced than more of the regions that we have and has been approved anyways. But I think there's a critical moment in the region to define how is that transitional thing, because it doesn't leave any staff members on the back. If we talk about modernization of the networks, there are many, many million people that do not have access to in Latin America in the year 2025. But beyond that, it is like, how do we help these countries, as Gaston says, that need more help? And this is where we need to put this practice of what we're going to talk, what we've been talking so far. Multiculturality, countries as Chile that are much more advanced. The network in our countries is that precisely, that interconnection of everything that is the energetic plan, the environmental part, the social, productive, that cannot be left besides, and that we don't have in part of the members. We have it in the countries. It's a multi-sector and it's a multi-ministry working precisely with that. An energetic policy, but a policy of economic development in which the basis of the development is energy. So there's no country that has been developed with an increasing the consumption level dramatically. This energy, of course, has to be renewable to overcome the goals, climate goals, and the resilience. We have very clear that being the energy is not the final product; it's a step in the middle. And the region, of course, has many of the countries, in fact, have the feet quite set, making an analogy with soccer. And this is where we need to show these policies of state. The policies of state, as what Luis Felipe said, that there's a continuity in the change, and the private sector feels reassured to be able to invest. This is where we talk about not only the diagnosis, because the reports are very good, and this is especially good, but the problem here is the implementation. When this goes down to the implementation, and we are working in the consultant agencies, this is where we get stuck. This is where many of the organizations they don't have the capacity at long term and the capacity to invest in the implementation. I think that the multilateral, the bilateral, we need to put more money in those primary steps, and maybe probably they're not the ones that lead you to the opening or something. This is the training, not only being with a workshop or a seminar, is a training that needs to be at a long term. That is important. Training matters of plans of execution from the reports. For the execution, these are detailed, these are clear, and it's a matter of delivering capacity. Many of the countries in the region, they can't deliver capacity to others. And here we have OLADE. OLADE has always, I even get admired myself. I admire this capacity that OLADE has to work with this. This is an advantage that can be capitalized to transfer this knowledge and the use of capital, concession for the philanthropic ones to reach um, these needs and the technical assistance, cooperation, and to change our channel, the studies. and the collaboration, how is going to be taken to make a work map, a roadmap, and how is are we going to collaborate? Who is going to take what to deal with systems of financing? Because also the sector, we need to coordinate much better. We talk about the sanctions on the public and private, and those that are philanthropic, taking profit of the capital and the funds that still want to support the climate changes. And for that, for me, that is essential. Thank you so much, Isabel. With Ramon, before starting the seminar, we discussed part of the report, and we realized that there are reports that were done that, of course, there's a lot of work. And sometimes we don't read what has been done before. And you, from RAM 21, and you, in first place, you have like a global perspective over all these trends. I was going to ask you about, for Uruguay, that double hat that you have. But I want to ask you first of all of the global experience of R21. Which ones you think are the best practices that you would recommend to be implemented here in the region? First of all, at a global level, with that regional perspective. Yesterday, I listened to Ramon with the presentations on the regulations that is part of the first level that we're bringing. So let's talk about this subject. But maybe the most important thing, the most clear thing that appears what is going on in the world right now is that we had a turning point for 10 years. I remember about Paris. I was centered in climate changes and what's going on concerning commitment, location, and the mandate that we have to be able to leave a certain sector to go to another one. And now the world has changed completely. Today, the driver for this type of decisions is the economy. And these are the most important and lower level of certainty. This makes us feel implemented somehow. And this uh, is part of what is triggered when appears this type of phenomenon from one country to the other. Today, the renewable are the ones that generate more job positions, 30 million all over the world against other 12 with the industry. We have more job positions with lower investments. And the renewable energies, they have to suffer the fact that in the world, and this is said by the Monetary Fund, $1.3 trillion are part of the fossil fuels, and the indirect are other six. All this is the 6% with all the money that we generate and the energy and the renewable energies in some adverse conditions, they show that are the best. So even if it doesn't exist, the climate change, today we have some technologies that are uh, important and are something to take into account because these could be the best solutions. We are convinced that we have all the conditions to create a new economy based on that. And that new economy is not simply waiting for a transformation of a fuel into another fuel. That is not the transition that we expect. It requires a deep change or the redesign, something completely different. Now we're going to talk a bit about Uruguay, but precisely in this context that is complex, and we have a re-balance of the fossil fuels and the natural gas that is a transition, and this is very special in Latin America because we need this type of energies going through the obstacle is because it's a transition. We have this renaissance and we have a geopolitical process, and it is a matter of saying, okay, to develop Africa, we need this type of fuels, and as it was developed. So today we have tested that without doubt you can deal with those difficulties in the variability of the resources. This is something that is part of the technology. It does exist. We need to take these type of decisions that are related with this climate change, release to the market. So really the transformation is something that can happen. It's not going to happen all of a sudden, but we have some systems that were very well designed as a characteristic of the fossil fuels. And it's part of an spontaneous thing. In the market, this is going to redefine the network. And the advantage that we have is that we are 120 organizations, we have 20 governments, we have IRENA, we have 3 agencies of the United Nations, we have the economy at a global level, we have all the industry from TWEC, the Council on the Industrial uh, Powers, and there's a huge, incredible quantity of organizations. So that a strategic vision, that group of actors is what is going to help to change the narrative, to change what says this cannot be done, we have technological problems. And that's the thing, to change the narrative means that we have to play with all the different stakeholders. Thank you so much, Ramon. 21 years, right? You've been in this for 21 years? Microphone, please. They're not using the microphone. I apologize. We cannot receive sufficient sound to interpret. The REM 21 was for the renewable for the 21 energy. Those that are listening to the interpretation, they won't receive that. They won't receive the sound.
According to the report and based on what these fellows just told us.
Thank you so much, Gaston. And it's fascinating listening to all of you. There's so much happening in the region and so much to build on. First of all, energy transition is a pattern. They will only invest if the business case is strong, right? And that requires the right policies and the fundamentals and the demand for energy. So where's Latin America in the journey? I think it's somewhere in the middle, halfway through. And I think it's technological convergence. So real innovation is coming from different technologies working together. And I think the example you mentioned here with the buses here in Chile is an example of that. That wouldn't have been possible without the battery storage technologies. It wouldn't have been possible without the policies. It wouldn't have been possible without the grids, etc. And it wouldn't have been possible without companies investing in it and consumer. Technology convergence, we see it also with AI and energy. That's a huge opportunity, but also a possible huge strain on the system. Last point, I think grids is perhaps the biggest unlock here for the future. And it's really underestimated how important the infrastructure and the grids are. And very last point, because I shouldn't forget it, it's not only about electricity, it's also about the fuels. And I think that's an area where the clean fuels, where Latin America is so well positioned and can really show the way and deliver outcomes both for your continent, but also in terms of exports to the global market. So thank you so much, and back to you, Gaston.
Thank you very much, Espen. Y coincido, creo que no siempre uno tiene a veces la capacidad.
I do agree. You don't always have the capacity to understand that this is an electrical transition. ICAD is the same, and this is something that Ramon said. This is not only a matter of what make reference to the energetic. This is a deep transition. Let's go now back to discuss things with Ramon. What can you tell us about the lessons learned? Did you experience this? How have you done things? This is a good example of what can be replicated, right? Yes, Gaston, what we were there able to show that the transition is possible, is something that can be done. Uruguay had a very complex situation 15 years ago with the fossil fuels that were imported for the hydroelectricity. Today, where are we after this transition? I'm going to tell you what has been happening so far. Where are we located today? We have 99.9% concerning this electrical matrix, a combination where half of this hydraulic part is a part of a combination that is hydraulic, sun, and residues, and this type of wastes of biomass. This without not even one single battery in all the system. We show that the complementation of the sources, with a good implementation, can deal with a 99% of renewable energies. Not 100%, that would be 99% without a battery. Why have we done that? Because it's the optimum, and because our emissions They are 30 times less per capita by kilowatt, more than the average. And the driver, but the driver said that was the most convenient. And this was based, as we said, in Chile. In the 2008, we generated a strategy supported by all the political parties. We saw consecutive administrations, and we had this type of continuity. Why? Because we set the national benefits to be able to do something. 99% in the electrical matrix, 65% of the primary matter all over the world is 12% in all the sectors. I got at night, and I work with these figures of kilometers. At night, there's more time that I consume, so the rate is lower. At night, I carbonize, I carbonate with the airplane, of course, but it's possible to decarbonize a global system with the energetic measure. And this, I think that's the most important thing, I reduce at half the costs of generation of 10 cent dollars around 5. So the renewable energies, they're cheaper. Thing that could happen, that is posed by the environmentalists, no. This is a reality. We had to learn, of course, how to deal with the variability. That wasn't easy, but it wasn't rocket science either. That wasn't that complicated. The human engineering put a man on the moon, but of course, this can be differently managed. The way it goes for the national economy, this is a disaster. For the investors, this is terrible. And in second place, we have how to think out of the system. If we don't change the system, we don't have energetic transition. So the way we plan things, the way we operate in Uruguay, in the bases, there are no nuclear weapons. In the bases, we have the wind energy, and the rest continuous. We have followers. We have the actors that are different. But the design of the market is completely different as well. We go to a market long term and some of the areas. The most important change, planning is everything. If we have, for example, 40% of wind energy, the timing is minimum. Why is that? Because it's planned. All the infrastructure is planned to be able to optimize the use and the better combination that we can have for better this type of sources. I don't have battery, but with that we decrease the cost. So the planning is central. The expansion is central, and we rethink systems that need to be completely stratified, the actors, the shareholders, and the roles. And an essential thing, the systems of what has been said concerning how do we associate the planning with the energetic planning. We did an evaluation that is strategic of the policy. So how do we have the shareholders as part of this idea to widen the shareholders that are the active parts? We received $6,000 million. This is the 12% of the GDP of Uruguay. It has been for several years, so imagine. The investors finally understood that it was a safe business in order to be able to participate in these regulatory conditions and the business model and the public policy. My heart just fell in love with you. You got that. I'm not going to tell you that it's admirable what we do, and we are in the other side. But we have many regions. We have many things to learn. So we still have a lot to do. So this can become an example. So thank you so much, Ramon, for everything. Isa, what do you think, and how do you think we can align finance, regulation, and participation to move on being inclusive? I believe that everything that we've been doing and everything we've been discussing is that has to be packages and of these sectors. And there's a social thing, right? And there's an energetic subject as well for industrial policies of the government.
implementación, en el cual las inversiones y los paquetes no son energéticos, sino son, como tú decías, un nuevo sistema, cambiar el
As you
sistema.
said, it's a new system to change this development system. It's not only about the transition, but also economical growth. And to take this in a like an advantage in Latin America. It's something that does not happen all the time. And it's a new economy. All the employment that has been created, it's wonderful, but the employment that the transition is going to create is a new employment. It's not only transition of the energy, but we are taking advantage of our young population. We are using them and creating the competitive advantages today in the region that are going to allow us to be positioned in a global world and as a region. And the key it is to design packages that deal with this or to solve this in a coordinated way with the different policies and efficiency as well, and not isolated, but all together. And I think that today with Marcelo and Felipe, we can see the association of public and private sector. So I would like to ask you how these associations can accelerate the portfolio of projects and to reduce the investment risk. I would like to tell a real case here. When we started in Bogota, it's quite similar to Santiago, or it's similar. It's a wonderful city. Half of that city was the municipality of Bogota for a long time. It's not very common in the world, but actually everything was solved very easily because at the beginning you say to the operator, we are talking about public and private partnership. We are operators that we can achieve result, and the other part it is the mayor's office, right? That is very close to the citizens. The concept is really good. Anyway, the management of this company, this partnership achieved that in 10 years. We did all the efficiency curves from the investment, and now we are discussing the transportation system, knowing the current situation. We have advantages, and this is an example of us. I mean, that the operator in this case can exercise in that society, and the other parties are supporting us, the mayor's office, and that is amazing. And the other thing it's really important here that it is here with my friend here where we are starting a renewable project in the starting from scratch in the zero section we call it community, not sustainability, because if the community is not in, it's difficult to do it. So how we get to the community, and I don't know if you know it, but it would be interesting for us to talk about this. In Brazil, you know, there is this program that is called Light for Everyone. And when he does all of that, what the governor says or did is that the private company and the government funded this for all. Once you connect, we almost connect 500,000. People are happy. In the northern Brazil, in the area of Ceará, it is an enormous area, 300,000 square kilometers. They are really happy when they come, when we come. And then our internal discussion is how to get that the in the city that have very good subsidies, how to get them for the bills to be lower. A bill it's like 10 to 8 or $10. This $10 for them, we were discussing how to achieve that to get it for free. It's a concept that it's not really good for economics, right? But we started from the basis that the people were very happy and thankful. And then how do we continue? Because we applied to a United Nations program where an external recycling company, not us, they received their plastic and cardboard 20 years ago, and they had kind of a credit card, and they put all of that to our account. And actually, you are not always getting what you plan, of course, but what happened, it was that the family was actually getting this recycling material until they get to the number they needed to get it for free. So the company has to be part, and then the people has to be involved too. But to be all together, it's what it works, and we leave it like that. It was shocking for us, impressive, and to the community you have to give tools, and it's zero cost for you, but they are well they are doing. I think I wouldn't do it. I mean, or you maybe wouldn't, but people get organized to get to the benefits of they need for their families. Thank you. Felipe, you told us about the policies that have been implemented in Chile, right? From the national perspective, as Ramon said, this can be implemented in the rest of the countries in the region. Is it possible? I'm going to start with this. We are in a process of energy transition, and of course, this is applied and designed according to the different realities of different countries. And that not only implies to have different strategic scopes, but also speeds to get to the point where we need to be with everything that you have to do. And I understand this from the Chilean perspective now, is that the history has taught us a lot of things. I look younger than I am, but I do remember in 1999 when we had the electricity blackouts, and all the time there, we realized that this matrix of energy was not going to be enough. And then we had the carbon thermoelectric, but what I want to say is that all this experience that we have had since the 80s to 2010, when we created as a country, the Ministry of Energy, at that point we were discussing topics like the best policy of energy was not to have one, but we wanted not to be reactive, but to be proactive, and that the ministry is going to be in charge of looking at the country and assessing the long public sector, not only involving the Ministry of Energy and the academy, the private sector as well, to get to wide agreements that were not only talking about energy, but all the other processes that need to be developed. And this is reflected today in the development of an industry that doesn't exist, but we are trying to develop this, the green hydrogen, and we haven't had or gotten to this point yet, but we are working with the civil society and different parties in order we can be able to export the first green hydrogen production. And with this, we have achieved what we didn't have at the beginning, but this coordinates the Ministry of Energy and everything that is necessary from the infrastructure funding and the human capital and everything that I am saying, somehow this is the historical process that how this has meant, what it has meant for our country to create this Ministry of Energy with public policies and then to move the energy sector and others for advancing harmonically. And this, it is including electromobility, funding, capital, human capital, and everything that is totally connected. And it is not so common for me to get fun, but I got it was really fun. But we are going to be generous. We are going to see if one person from the audience wants to ask a question. Is there anyone?
Hola, me llamo Naim, soy ingeniero.
Voy a hacer mi pregunta en español. I'm going to ask my question in Spanish. I am an electrical engineer, and my question is about the technical capacity. There in the report, there is a mention of improving the technical capacity. What specific areas are you talking about in the Latin American and the Caribbean region?
Thank you for the question. It's a challenging one because I don't know all the details, but let me have a go at this. So, human capital matters a lot in all sectors, and energy included, right? So to what extent can we mobilize the best talents to solve some of the hardest energy challenges in the world, right? And people need to see the attractiveness of this. If you think about the nuclear industry, for instance, attracted a lot of people some decades ago in France and other countries, but now that knowledge is a little bit lost, right? And do young people want to work in energy sector? Do they want to solve some of these energy issues? Do they flow to some of the companies? And that starts already in the early years of education. Do people understand energy? Do they see the benefits of it? And then going on to some of the technical education. So
Thank you very much. Now, what do you think if we have one final intervention, have a little bit of a challenge perspective, because sometimes it's really good to add numbers that you can later refer to. So I'm thinking that by your faces, are not expecting this question, but I would like you to share numbers. I don't know who wants to start by sharing information with numbers. You trick us. This is we were not expecting this. Do you remember the hybrid car that I have? 100 kilometers with one normal plug. I pay $2 and I don't pay parking in Madrid. That car, it is 25 kilowatts hour and it is the use of a car in at the household in a day. So you're going to have a lot of benefits. And Spain, we have cars with $15,000 cost, and the consumption is going to duplicate if the cities make the decision of having this hybrid car. Also, the small one like the tuk-tuk in India, do you know where Tata Power is developing that? And just to summarize, as the consumption is going to be duplicated or doubled, you have to reinforce the whole infrastructure. And if you finish I mean, if you have these kilowatt hours that you pay during the night that is cheaper, you have the day call to grid. That means that you sell the energy that you got with your car. It's like you're at the storage with your car. And so, for example, you can resell these back to the grid. So, of course, when you have some need in the network, in the grid, overload or failure or anything, calls these people and buys energy from them. And if you have a fleet of 500,000 of these cars and loads this back to the system, I mean, you are working in your office and then you can sell back this energy that you have stored in your battery. And maybe you can get some margin there and you can buy 3 times the price that you pay for it. So depends on the needs. So when you get together and you have this operation and you work together, well, the number was not clear, but I'm trying to be the best student in the classroom, and that is what I wanted. Okay, just one phrase. The two phrases that I want to have here, it is that today the energy that is renewable is the best option, even if we don't have the problem of the climate change. It's the driver of the economy, and but it is what we need. We have to implement the transformation from the public policies in Chile and Uruguay. We have this continuity of transforming policies, and then the market can take advantage of this and to remove the bias of the current system. And the number I will give you to finish, I'm going to tell you, look at the glass half full, because we are not getting to the Paris Agreement achieved goal, right? But the science prediction from here to the end of the year, we are going to have more than 4 degrees increase in the temperature. And actually, we are in 2.7. We are far from that. And the numbers are showing that naturally the new economy, it's being imposed. It's imposing. And that is going to end up taking us to this clean transition. I don't know, Felipe or Isabel, do you want to finish with some words? Thinking about the numbers, when we think about time, given the advantages of the region, I think that as a region we can advance. We are in the middle of this transition. We can aim to be a region that commits as a region to get to 80% renewable or 100% of universal electrification, and with leadership we can define if it's a region that it is going to be in the back or in the front of this transition. And we can say we can lead this in the global area, and how this is going to some point of the day it could be 95 95% in the case of electromobility. Santiago City, after Chinese cities, is one of the cities that has a greater participation of electrical transport in the world. And then in 2022, we saved the equivalent of a half of the produced electric energy in the country. And the development of the green hydrogen industry, the last year we had great investment, but within there, the green hydrogen, it's well, a lot of projects are assessing there in the environmental aspect, and this shows a good trend. But what I want to say with all of this, that beyond all this data, the fundamental thing, and I think it is really important to have this into account, and it's not only because we have made this decision, but also it is because we are bringing up to the table the numbers to move to the right direction. All data change life of people, and the element of the of fairness. And when we did this thermic uh, projects or thermal projects here, what we have, or when we are closing these, we have to achieve that there is this reconversion that is going to show benefits. Therefore, this reflection is that all numbers are good, but we have to change the life of people through it. And especially with the territory that was affected in the past, they are not going to be left behind this time.
One of the world's first decarbonized people. And it's just impressive to see what you have achieved in your country. I'm from Norway. I thought we had the record until recently with 95, 97%. Now, there's maybe one thing you're not yet beating us. It's on the electric vehicle penetration, where we have a bit more than 90% of new sales. But I suspect you will soon be at 99 and maybe 100% as well. But I think numbers apart, of course, numbers are important, and it shows the art of the possible. But it ultimately comes down to what we can do in every country, learning from each other, and every country is different. I just want to thank everybody here and for the opportunity to collaborate as well with OLADE.
Thank you.
Bueno, muchísimas gracias a todos los panelistas. Los
Well,
invitamos a
thank you
tomar
very much to the panelists. Please, we want to have a picture of you. Thank you for joining us and to be here with us.